Hey, good morning there, good afternoon, good whenever you end up watching this. Personally recording this in the morning here. This is Shane Powers here, Red White Corn Sports, um, bringing you your weekly insight and your prediction into the matchup coming this Saturday versus the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, jumping kind of right into this, guys, this is going to be a critical matchup for the Cornhuskers, okay? Bounce back game has to be. We're not going to go deep diving and talking about everything that happened against Illinois. Um, we're gonna have to talk about some of it to understand how this game is going to be similar in some ways. But just know the Huskers have to bounce back. You can't start 0-2 in conference play. You can't start the year 3-0 and then end up 3-2. Okay, you have to continue to see progress in a year two build under Matt Rule. And yes, some of us and some of you and different Husker fans had some unrealistic expectations for year 200 Matt Rule, but that doesn't mean we have to see consistent progress. And progress this year wouldn't be 5-7 again. Okay, I don't even know how much progress. I mean, 6-6 would be good, but it's very minimal progress. So to me, the floor is 7 games. As far as winning them, I'd like to see more. The floor is 7. Um, and so we got to see that progress go. So how does Purdue stack up against Nebraska, guys? Well, expect to see a very similar game. Now, Purdue is not, arguably, is not uh, anywhere near as good. Not that Illinois was that great. We'll see how they played the rest of the year, but Purdue is not them. They've won one game this year. They've played three. The game they won was against an FCS opponent. Um, so I'm not gonna even talk about that because let's talk about the power of the actual teams they've played at that should be at around their level. Okay, so they played Notre Dame. All right, gonna be a tough game for anybody, but nor you know Notre Dame did get beat by an FCS team. All right, so Notre Dame waffle stomped them 66-7. 66-7. They played Oregon State. They got beat down 38-21. In both those games, guys, they gave up. Hold on, I got the stat here. This is incredible. In both those games, they gave up 300 yards on the ground to both of them. Okay. Now the key is what might make this more difficult for us is both those teams used running quarterbacks. Now they don't. I think Notre Dame ran it for 100 yards against them. Morgan State I think ran it for about 50 against them with the QB. But overall 300 yards on the ground. Nebraska's got to capitalize on that. Period. Point blank. We struggled at times running the ball this year. Um, just at times. I mean, we've done pretty good overall, but last week against Illinois, I don't think we have any rushing yards in the second half. Some of that was because the sacks, they used the sack yardage takes off the rushing total, but no positive net gain of rushing yards in the second half of that game last week. That's got to change. Period. I mean, Rayola is a great quarterback. The offense clicks when he's got his receivers going, and I've no problem with him throwing it around a bit, but we can't put the whole game on his shoulders. Okay, got to get the run game going. Dante Dowdell, Emitter Ramir, got to get going. Period. Okay. Um, Offensively for Illinois, they're led by Texas transfer QB Hudson Card. Um, he's kind of a dual threat, not in a traditional sense, but he's mobile enough to get around outside the pocket, and he does. Um, in total this year, through all 3 games, he's got about 50 yards on the ground. Okay, I mean, it's about the same as Altmaier did coming into us. He doesn't run around a whole lot, but he did against us because we couldn't stop it here and there, right? So look for Purdue to copy that Illinois game plan and say we're gonna run around on the perimeter, come stop us, right? Um, they've got 2 running backs that are good. Illinois transfer running back Reggie Love and Devin Mockleby. Luckily for us, both those running backs are the most normal sized running backs we've seen in a while, right? So they're both around 200 pounds. Guys, I say that for context. Again, Northern Iowa's running back was about 240 pounds. Illinois' running back last week was 250 pounds. Okay, and we struggled to tackle. We struggled to get those guys down. I like the matchup of our size against those 2 guys. Hopefully, that's a good scenario for our defense to bounce back. Um, They, as far as throwing around, their leading receiver really is their tight end Max Clare. But Hudson Card does a pretty good job of spreading the ball out. Now defensively, um, and Purdue's gonna on offense, they're gonna run it, guys. I mean, last week against Oregon State, they only had 50 yards passing, something like that. They're gonna try to establish the ground game, and that matches up well if they look at film from the Illinois game and say, "How do we beat Nebraska? Let's get the ground game going." And then when they're overcommitting to that, let's throw it around to open space. So look for them to try to do exactly what we saw last week. And the interesting thing will be, did we learn anything from last week? Do we now stop it? Okay. On defense, look out for their defensive end Will Helt. Okay, Will Helt. Um, Looks like potentially an NFL guy right there, edge rusher, and you gotta watch. Rayola's got to know where that guy's at on the line, and the defense has got to keep him from getting to the quarterback. Okay. Um. So basically, look for Purdue guys to copy the Illinois game plan against us. And the thing is, can our defense step up to the challenge, overcome the demons from the last week, but I say 2 weeks of rough defensive performance, and stop that in its tracks? Okay. For Nebraska, the keys for us is, again, that defense got to get going. I want to see a 3-and-out. Come out that first drive. If we win the coin toss, kick it. Don't let them start the game. Get a 3-and-out. Get a 3-and-out. That's what we need is a 3-and-out. Set that tone right up front and say, hey, we're not messing around. Um, the last 2 games, Northern Iowa gave up 3 points on their opening drive. Illinois gave up a touchdown on their opening drive. Defense needs to get its moxie back and fast. I thought it was telling in the press conference this week. Tony White said the defense didn't come out with that chip on its shoulder, that edginess to it, and Illinois did. I'm like, well, why? Right? And Rule says that it's not how did we lose? How did we miss this? How was this guy open? It's why. Why are those things happening? It's a story of why, not how. And why do we not have that edginess to us? MJ Sherman basically said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but MJ Sherman basically said words to the effect of, hey, some of the guys started winning and started basically slacking off on some small details and some things, like they've already made it. Um, that's not acceptable. For a team that hasn't even gone bowling since 2016, you win 3 games and you just start slacking off? No. So the good thing is those things are correctable. Those things are fixable. Um, the press conference, I think it was Monday. If you listen to the coaches, the players, they all sounded chippy and edgy. And I think I look for a bounce back game by Nebraska. I think we can get it done. And oh, last thing, special teams, guys. Just a real quick note on that. Special teams needs work as a whole. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But Tristan Alvano is going to continue to be out. Sounds like whatever injury kind of dealt with in the fall camp, I think it was a groin, kind of is flared back up, and there's no timeline for him to come back. So John Holland's going to be need to make field goals. What else can I say about that? Look, we're favored somehow still. Our line is 9.5 favorites. I don't know for sure that we can cover. But heck, I like the Huskers coming out with an edge, a chippiness to it, and we'll predict a cover. Give me the Huskers in this one. 24-14. Um, Keep in mind, guys, this is a road game, first road game of the year. Keep in mind that Purdue has sold out this game. It is their homecoming game, expected to be a packed stand, and it's our first game we haven't played at night. First road game, first game at night, first game on the road, sold out stadium. How do they respond? Very interesting to see. Look to see how that defense responds to that first series. Look to see if the offense gets the run going in the first series. Those are what we need to look for. Keep an eye out for it. Again, if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. Smash like and subscribe. Throw a comment in there with your prescription. It helps the algorithm show this to more people. And as always, guys, go Big Red.